So today we're going to talk about writing algebraic inequalities. So by the end of the lesson, we're going to hopefully be able to write algebraic inequalities. So to start, what is an algebraic inequality? Well, when an inequality contains a variable, it's going to be called an algebraic inequality. So a lot of times we're used to that we see things like 5 is less than 8. That would be considered an inequality. However, if I have something with a variable in it and I have 5 is less than x, that would become an algebraic inequality. So those are going to be the difference between those. So what I have is the value of the variable makes the inequality true would be a solution to it. However, an inequality may have more than one solution. Together, all the solutions are going to be called our solution set. So for example here, 5 is less than 8 works. If I say 5 is less than x, though, x could be a lot of different numbers. X could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It could be even decimal numbers. It could be something like 5.1. Okay, so x has a lot of different answers when it's an algebraic inequality. So I have a solution set instead. So when I do this, an inequality is a mathematical sentence that compares quantities. Solving an inequality means finding the values for the variable that make the inequality true. So again, I want to remind you of a lot of these words that we and symbols that we saw the other day. So if I have the less than symbols, the less than symbol is going to look like this. Okay, so is less than or is fewer than. Okay, this again is going to be our greater than symbol. Okay, is greater than means it's going to be more than or exceeds it. But then we also introduce the less than symbol with the line underneath. So again, less than symbol with the line underneath means it's less than or it's equal to. So that means it can be no more than, and that's how much it is at most. Sometimes when kids see the words more and most, they assume I need the greater than symbol. But what it's saying is it can't be any more than that. That's the most it could be. So like that's the maximum. So we want something that's going to be smaller than that. And finally, if I have my greater than or equal to sign, I want to have that line underneath again to make the word equal. So I want is no less than and is at least. So even though it says the word least and less, because I'm saying that it's no less than that and that's the least amount it can be, I want that much or higher. Let's put this into practice so you guys can kind of see what I mean here. So whenever you guys have gone to like someplace like Great America or any place that have rides, they often have signs up that says you have to be at least this many inches tall in order to ride, for example, Pirate Lagoon. So you have to be at least 35 inches. So if you're less than 35 inches, it's not going to work for you. So I have three triplets, and again, they're kind of silly looking, but let's pretend this is their height when they're standing all the way straight up. People are always like, but they're bending down. No, this is how tall they are when they stand straight up. So we need to figure out which triplets get to go on the ride. Well, our first one, he's 36 inches, so he should be good to go on the ride because he's at least 35 inches tall. My second one, he is 35 inches tall. So would they let him on the ride? Yeah, because you have to be at least 35. So he is 35 inches tall, so he would work. However, the last one, he's only 34 inches. So they're going to say, I'm sorry, but you cannot come with us. So we need to figure out what inequality could I write. So what I'm going to do is, if I can get my text box loading here, I'm recording this in Google Slides today, so it's a little different than when I use my smartboard. If I just have x for my variable, I can choose any variable I want. And then I'm also going to have the number 35. I chose 35 because that's the number in my problem. So I want to figure out what algebraic inequality symbol I would put in the middle here. Well, I have the numbers like 36 and 35. So I have numbers that are 35 or bigger. So I would want to put the greater than symbol. However, it could also equal 35, so I would want to put the greater than or equal to sign. So x, which is your height, has to be greater than or equal to 35 to go on the ride. Let's practice this a couple more times here. If I want to write an inequality for these situations, so if I have the temperature is below 35 degrees. So if my temperature has to be below 35 degrees, let's think for a second of what are some temperatures that it could be and some temperatures that it could not be. So if it has to be below 35 degrees, I know something like 34 would work. I know something like 32 would work. I know something like -5 would work. Those are all below 35. However, something like 36 would not work because that's not below 35. I also know that things like 35 would not work either because 35 is not below. So this time I'm going to use T for temperature. And then I'm going to put the 35, because again, that's my number from my problem. Make this a little bit bigger for you guys to see this a little bit more clearly. So if I'm sitting here and I need to figure out what algebraic inequality, well, I know that temperature are all numbers that are smaller than 35. So I'm going to put my less than symbol. Does that work? Again, if I said 34 worked here, is 34 below 35? Yes. Is 34 less than 35? Yes. So that would be a true inequality. Let's try another one. The train attendant will allow no more than 60 people on the train. So if I think this through, I could have 60 people on the train and that's allowed. I could have 58 people on the train. 55 people would be on the train. Would 61 people be allowed on the train? No, because no more than 60 people. So 61 would not be allowed. So 60 has to be the max. It has to kind of be the cutoff there. So if I were to make another text box here, and I want to have, I'm going to use P for my variable here for people, and I'm going to use the number 60. So I have P, and then I have the number 60. So I need to figure out what symbol could I put in the middle there? Well, I know that it can be no more than 60, so I actually want the less than symbol because I want 60 to be the highest number. So all my numbers have to be smaller than 60. However, it could also be 60 as well. So I would say the amount of people has to be less than or equal to 60. One more practice on this slide. If there must be at least 20 people signed up for a class or it will be canceled. So again, I want to think in my head, what kind of numbers of people could there be? Well, could there be 18 people in that class? If there has to be at least 20 people signed up? No, if there's only 18 that sign up, that would be canceled. So 18 would not work. However, if 25 people sign up, yep, that class would happen. If 32 people sign up, that class would happen. How about 20? If there needs to be at least 20 people, if I have exactly 20 people that show up, will that work? Yes. So here are some examples of what would work and what examples that would not work. So if I were to write my inequality, and again, I'm going to use P for people here. If I have P, and now I'm going to use 20 this time because that's the number in my problem, what inequality would go here? Well, I want P to be all numbers that are larger than 20. So I'm going to use my greater than symbol. However, it could also equal it. So I'd put the greater than or equal to sign for my answer. Okay, we're going to practice two more of these for today. If I have blatant is at most 2 meters above sea level. So I want you thinking about if he's at most. Now, I know a lot of times people think most and they think the greater than symbol, but most means that that's the cutoff. That's the most it could be. So I want you thinking like, okay, if he is 3 feet, does that work? If he's at 2 feet, does that work? If he's at 1 foot, if he's at 5 feet, which of these numbers would work if he is at most 2 feet above sea level? Then from there, what we're going to do is you guys are going to have to come up with an inequality and which symbol you would use. So I'm just going to use B for blatant. Never heard that name before. That's kind of a cool name. And so if I have B for blatant, and then I have the number 2, because that's the number for my problem, I want you guys thinking, which symbol would you use? Would you use the less than, the greater than, the less than or equal to symbol, the greater than or equal to symbol? Okay, which one of these would you fill in the blank? Okay, since blatant is at most 2 feet, so he cannot be more than 2 feet. So I know numbers like 3 would not work, and I know numbers like 5 would not work. My numbers that are smaller than 2 are what would work. So I would want the less than symbol. However, 2 would also work because it's at most 2, so he could beat 2. So I put the less than or equal to symbol there. Let's practice just one more, and then this video will be done with for today. Edith must read for a minimum of 20 minutes. So let's say that that was her ELA assignment. So let's say that Miss Wang, Miss Vega, Mr. Dutzner, Miss Walensky, one of your ELA teachers told you had to read for a minimum of 20 minutes. So think about it. If you were to read for 20 minutes, would your teacher be happy? If you had to read for 25 minutes, would they be happy? How about if you read for 30 minutes? How about 18? Okay, I want you guys thinking about which one of those would make your ELA teacher happy. And then I want you guys thinking about what symbol we would use. So if I again want to be writing this, I'm going to use E for Edith. Could you write M for minutes? Sure, lots of right answers here. But if I have E, and then I'm going to have the number 20 in the middle on the side, what symbol would you put in the middle? So when I look at this here, if she must read for a minimum of 20 minutes, 20 would work, 25 would work, 30 would work. However, if she only read for 18 minutes, I don't think her ELA teacher is going to be very happy with her. So that one would not work. So in the middle here, it looks like I want numbers that are all larger than 20. So I'd put the greater than symbol. However, it could also equal 20. If she read exactly 20 minutes, her ELA teacher would still be happy. So that would be greater than or equal to 20.